This team, they split a 3-3 West Coast road trip, which I mean, that's I mean, for the Knicks is always a good thing because I remember a few years ago they would go 0-6 or 1-5, and if they won one game, it would be like, oh, that's great, the Knicks won a game on a road trip. And now, this team's fighting 3-3. They won one against the Clippers. They did lose to the Lakers, as I said, but this team just fights so much, and it's tough right now to see them in the sixth seed because of tiebreakers and stuff like that. But technically, they're tied for the fourth and fifth as well. It's a three-way tie between them, the Heat, and then also the Hawks, surprisingly enough. And for me, it's imperative for them to get that 4 or 5 seed. But I mean, as good as they played, I really, at this point, I'm no expectations. And I'm just happy to see them playing well. I mean, honestly, the one person I want to shout out is D Rose. I love how D Rose is playing. And, he's one of my favorite players on this team. And, the way he's playing, to me, it's probably the best he's played since that MVP season. And he's just so fun to watch. He's like, sometimes it's, just lightning. That's really the only word I can put, to him, and especially how the Knicks play. It's really nice to see that brand of basketball as well. I think it fits really well. But to me, Brian, this team playing really well, and I'm actually just excited to keep on watching them, which with the Knicks is, you don't get to say that a lot.
Yeah, I mean they're creating a lot of buzz right now. They're a legitimately fun team to watch.
Yeah.
For the first time in what feels like forever. And I mean, last night was a really tough loss. There's no denying that, but that doesn't take away, what they did on Sunday when they beat, a fully healthy Clippers team.
Played hard again.
you definitely have to, respect their heart and their just competitiveness, which we haven't seen in so long for the Knicks. And it definitely does hurt that, they fall into that 6th seed, and it's going to make this last 3 games that they have so important. But, if you're a Knicks fan, I think you'll take anything really. I mean, if you get the 4 or a 5, there's a very good chance you can win that playoff series, in my opinion. So, I mean, Knicks fans deserve to be happy in every single way right now with how the Knicks are playing.
Yeah, I completely agree. If they get that 4 or 5 seed and they end up against the Hawks, I think that's a perfect matchup for them. I think they're going to win that series. I'd pick them to win. Which, if you would have told me that back in December when the season started, I'd be like, I'm picking the Knicks to win a playoff series. I mean, that's just crazy. And I feel like a lot of people, if this team gets to 30 wins, that would be beyond, everyone would be so happy. And they have passed that and more. And that's, to me, is just really impressive. And one thing I want to say, they've gotten better as the seasons went on. And that's, I mean, something that I think credit to Thibodeau and what he's able to do, and Julius Randle for keep on staying, as he's been this key cog to the team. But I mean, at a certain point, I thought they would fall off. I really did. And they didn't fall off. They got better, which to me was, I mean, extremely impressive. And, obviously these last 3 games are going to, show a lot. I think if they win 2 out of the 3, I think they could be good, but you have to see. Winning all 3 would obviously be the best, but I think 2 out of 3, I think they'd be in good shape. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they play out, but if we're even having this conversation, I think it's good news for the Knicks.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you thought that the Knicks were going to rattle off a 9-game winning streak at any point in this season, come on. I mean, that would have sounded crazy months ago. And I mean, I feel like this is talked about every week, the Knicks, how they've exceeded expectations, but they really do change their narrative. Every single week they get better and surprise all of us. I mean, ways. The Clippers game, if you beating a healthy Kawhi and Paul George, that's unheard of. A year ago, Knicks aren't even coming close to that. And it comes down to the coaching. Thibodeau's been incredible. And obviously the league's most improved player in Julius Randle, and the midseason edition of Derrick Rose. That's about as good of a midseason edition as you could get. I mean, you heard all the rumors about, oh, they should go after Bradley Beal. This is honestly better because the Knicks didn't give up really anything for Derrick Rose, and they're getting probably the best Derrick Rose they could have asked for. So, I mean, you definitely have to feel good about the Knicks going into the playoffs, but where are they going to end up is the question. I mean, their last 3 games, Spurs, Hornets, Celtics, all at home. So we'll see how they do. But I mean, getting that 5 or 4 seed is so important because you don't want to get a 6 and have to play the Bucks or the Nets, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't see them beating those teams, which I mean, look, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Like if they got bounced in the first round, like I don't think it was still a great season. Like it would just be nice to see them win a series. And, for only really winning one playoff series, it's since like the turn of the century, that's obviously, you want to win playoff series and all that stuff. So, I mean, obviously you want to get to that 4-5. And even if they would go up against like the Heat instead of the Hawks, I think they'd still have a good shot at beating them. And I think that'd be a really fun series. And I just want to see like if the Knicks won the series, and like I want to see that scene outside of the Garden. I just want to see it. Like I feel like after just like them winning a random game, like they're partying outside. I want to see after like a big playoff game, and just like this when the Knicks are good, the city's just different. And right now the Knicks just, especially how they've done it. I mean, it's so fun to watch.
It's definitely been a fun season for Knicks fans. I mean, you have to just, even if they disappoint in the playoffs, I don't think any Knicks fan will look at this season in a negative light. They've exceeded the wildest expectations, and that, I mean, you can't say enough about how they've been coached and how their young players have stepped up. So that's really how I see it. And I mean, I think that they could definitely win a playoff series, as you mentioned. Probably not if they play the Nets or the Bucks, because I mean, sure, they've proven that they can beat a good team, but in a 7-game series, not sure. But this has definitely been the best Knicks season in the last what, 10 years probably.
Yeah, I mean,
or however long it's been since they've
that
made
mellow.
The playoffs. Yeah, I don't have the exact number in my head, but it's definitely been a fun ride, and maybe it'll lead to a playoff win. Who knows? But these Knicks are capable of pulling off the biggest surprises. So they're an interesting team to watch in the playoffs for sure.
To me, this Knicks team, and I feel like across the NBA, just kind of, the new, like, taking games off or like because of rest, this Knicks team doesn't take a break, which, is really interesting just because you see the NBA going a completely different direction. And this Knicks team's pedal to the metal every night. And it's like, that's just, especially because they're young. And, I think they're a team that can do that. Like, I mean, you have everyone fresh legs. They're not a team coming from the bubble from last year. So they should be every night, really pressuring you right down your throat. And they do that. And that's, it's a team you don't want to see into the playoffs where they're not going to give you a game. And that's what I think is, I think the biggest accomplishment from this Knicks season. They're not giving you games anymore. You don't look at the Knicks and be like, oh, they'll pull it over, it'll be an easy win, like we'll easily beat them. Now it's like, okay, we got to bring our A game, because if we don't, they're definitely going to bring their A game. So, we may lose to them. And that goes for if you're, a bad team, like whoever you want to bring up, or, a great team like the Lakers or the Clippers, like you've got to bring your A game against the Knicks. And that's something that as a fan, you're extremely proud of, because the Knicks forever have been that 15-win team or 20-win team. That's just a, easy win. And that's not this team. And that's something that you can grow on. It's culture. And free agents will want to come to that, which, is really exciting when you start looking at, building a winner, a champion, not just a playoff team.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the Knicks, I mean, the market's clearly like not good enough. I mean, the team has to have some semblance of competence. I mean, we saw that with KD and Kyrie. They decided to go cross town in Brooklyn, but I think that, the Knicks are in a really good position for their future. I mean, free agents, I can definitely see free agents wanting to come here. I mean, seeing what Thibodeau has done, I really think that, players want to play for him. And it's just this team has one of the most interesting futures in the league. And I'm just so intrigued to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think, also, I don't think they have to do necessarily what the Nets did. I mean, they could, but I mean, to me, like, if they can get like a really just elite guard, and, really, I think that would be an amazing piece with Julius Randle, obviously. And if he continues his play, if you have RJ Barrett continuing, his development, I think they can be, I mean, if they can get one of those just, I mean, elite, a Dame Lillard, someone like that, I think that team could compete with the Nets, which would be, obviously really fun. And like, I think you can pitch to a Dame Lillard or whoever it is. Like, if you win with the Knicks, like that's forever legacy. Like that means more than like 2 championships with a lot of other teams. And I think you can pitch that if you have a good foundation, and this Knicks team does, which, obviously, as you said, it's not just the market, but now they don't just have the market. They have this good foundation. And then you have a fan base that if you win, they're so starved that if you won with them, they'd love you forever. And I think you can pitch that. And I think the Knicks will pitch that. And I mean, I think this team beyond this year, it's getting me excited right now, even though, this team's obviously still in the running this year. Like, I mean, it's going to be fun.